Thank you everyone for joining today. I'm very excited to be hosting Braintrust's first talent webinar. My name is Shirley Yang. I am the VP of Community for Braintrust. Many of you may know me from Muses. We joined Braintrust last month, and I'm very happy to be merging our freelance communities. I'd like to introduce our panelists for today. First up is Adam Jackson. He is the founder and CEO of Braintrust. He's going to talk to us about why he built the company and how we're really different from other freelance platforms. One of the many things I think we're different is we actually have a full-time dedicated sales team that goes after enterprise clients that have real budgets, right? And bring them directly to the platform so that freelancers spend less time hunting and more time doing things that we love. And next we have Vix Reitano, our headliner for today. She's the founder and CEO of Six Borough Agency. She's going to talk to us about how do we stand out, right, as freelancers, remote workers to our clients, now that COVID has made remote working so much more viable and just more people are becoming freelancers in general. Can everyone see my screen okay? Good. So quickly, today's agenda. Adam will go first, then we'll hop over to Vix, and then we'll have a Q&A session. If you can see the Q&A box, feel free to drop in questions as we're talking. You don't have to wait until the very end. We will be screening the questions and then I'll read them to Vix and she'll answer once we get there. So ask away any questions as they come up, okay? Great, so with that said, Adam, would you like to kick us off and tell us about Braintrust, why you started the company, and just walk us through how we're different?
Absolutely. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for making time for us this morning or this afternoon or evening, depending on where in the world you are. It's really great to see everybody here. So brief intro for anyone who hasn't met me yet. I'm Adam. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Braintrust. My quick background, so I'm actually a software engineer by training, and actually put myself through school as a freelance PHP developer, which is a type of computer programming language. I did that at nights and weekends to pay for school, and then moved out here to San Francisco right after I was done with school. And that was 16 years ago. So I'm an old man out here in Silicon Valley. And in that time I've been out here, I've actually started 4 venture-backed businesses, all marketplaces, all in different categories. So my first one was in local e-commerce, local shopping, and that was acquired by Intuit. The second one was an automotive servicing marketplace that connected car owners with car mechanics. And that was acquired by Advanced Auto Parts, which is a retailer. The third one's called Doctor On Demand, which we started in 2012. That one's getting a particular amount of attention these days because it's a video medicine company where you can actually see a doctor over live video, just like we're doing now. And when it's appropriate, get a prescription and save yourself a trip to the urgent care or the ER. And so I was CEO there for 4 years, and then I stepped back to board level after that. And then I started working on Braintrust 2 years ago. And our real motivation here with Braintrust is, I think the way freelance talent connects with companies that need their help is just fundamentally broken. I think if you look at platforms like Upwork or TopTal or these talent marketplaces, they take a giant rake. They take a big cut out of every transaction that goes over their platform. And it's just, all they're really doing is, facilitating your portfolio and like making an introduction, right? And I think it's fundamentally unfair to talent. And so Gabe and I thought, we could do this a better way. So we created Braintrust, which we call a user-controlled or user-owned network. And what that means is our talent are actually the ones making the decisions around what should the fees be, what categories should we be in, what should the rules of the network be. And instead of being in a fee maximization, like try to get as many fees as we can kind of business, it's actually the opposite. Braintrust is actually not a profit-seeking organization. It's actually trying to make the fees as low as possible and serve our talent as best we can. So we have a core development team here in well, it's actually all over the world. Gabe and I live in the San Francisco Bay Area. Shirley's out in Chicago, and we have folks all over the country. And there's about 10 of us on the core team, and our job is to build the platform, build the brand, and then bring awesome customers, clients, and projects to the platform. And so I can get into, Shirley, do you want me to talk now about the kind of projects we look for, or, okay. So what, other talent marketplaces you guys may have heard of, like Fiverr and 99 Designs and Upwork. I think those are good places to go. If you want something done really cheaply, or you're just looking for a logo or something, we're kind of the opposite. We have a pretty large talent base and growing, and I know that we're excited to bring on a lot of new people from Muses. What we're interested in are bigger and longer term relationships with clients. So we want to build larger software systems, big graphic design projects, eventually like video editing, and we'll get into the categories that we'll expand into at some point. But what we're interested in is bigger client engagements and more interesting projects at longer term and higher value, right? Like I fundamentally don't believe that freelancing in this category should be a race to zero, right? Like pushing everyone's rates down, right? It's just not that's not sustainable for talent. I don't think you're getting the quality from the client side. So we're inverting that model. So we work with companies like Deloitte and PwC and TaskRabbit and Blue Cross Blue Shield, and many hundreds more coming. We're adding almost one a week. And we're helping those clients build big sophisticated software systems, do big website projects, mobile apps, big graphic design projects. And we're doing so in extracting, very, very little fees. So we want to if whatever your hourly rate is on Braintrust, you get paid 100% of that hourly rate. We charge a small fee to the client just to help us, kind of keep the thing running. So that's me, that's Braintrust. That's why we're here. We are a new kind of network. We exist to build your business. Our job is to go out and get clients and feature this amazing talent that we have. And I'm so excited to see all these new Muses folks coming on. And I see some awesome questions rolling in. So maybe, should we save the questions to the end, Shirley?
Yeah, since we have just 3 really high level ones I think are important to address, let's quickly address them. So Sergio, we are definitely looking for graphic designers, UI, UX designers. If it's not on the website copy, this is a brand new website. We'll make sure that it's, addressed that way, but we are looking for UI, UX people. So if you are that, please definitely make an account. And then Brian, how is Braintrust compared to something like Gigster? Adam, would you like to take that?
Yeah, this is a great one. Thanks Brian, for asking this. So Gigster, TopTal, Upwork, places like this, they are charging up to 50, sometimes more, a 50% fee on top of your hourly rate. So let's say your hourly rate is $50 for whatever you do. If you go to Gigster, they're actually going to bill you out at somewhere between $75 and $100. And so you're getting your 50, they're getting another 25 to 50. And we just think that's fundamentally unfair. There's a bunch of other, so if you look at a place like TopTal or Gigster, like they'll often sort of obfuscate or try to hide who the talent is, like who's doing the work. And we don't believe in that either. We're a completely transparent network. So the bottom line is we're cutting out the middleman, right? We're still a middleman, but we're cutting out that big fat fee that most of those guys take.
There's that, and also I would say, I've been on Gigster and Upwork, and a lot of times they just don't pay you what you're worth, right? A lot of the budgets are, yes, coming from people from around the world. Sometimes it's, small business owners, and maybe they don't have the budget to pay, your experience. But that's where we're different, right? Because Braintrust has a sales team going after enterprise talents with the big budgets. and guarantee payment to freelancers. So I think that's a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Another question I saw here around the approval process. So look, I completely sympathize with anyone who's created a profile and they're waiting to be approved. We've had, even though we're still in stealth, we've had a lot of interest on the talent side. And so to address the point Shirley just made, so we're really, we try to be careful about how many folks come on. And this isn't like necessarily us making judgment calls about people. Like, I mean, most people are applying are like really talented people. And I know the Muses folks are extremely talented folks. What we are trying to control for is client experience. So what you don't want to have too many bids come in to a client and have them overwhelmed by it, right? So and then what Shirley just said, like it starts becoming this like race to the bottom, right? Like cheaper is not better in our world, right? In this world of talent. So we are very measured about the categories we get into. We don't want to be in a category where we can't deliver an amazing experience. So we'll be very slow and deliberate about that. So we will get to these new categories that Muses has. We're not there yet, but we will be. And if you're waiting for your profile to be approved, just know that it's a function of demand, right? So we don't want you to get approved and then like have nothing to look at and no interesting job. So that's kind of the thinking behind our approval process right now.
But at the same time, we're going to be providing value to you, such as upskilling programs, webinars, certification programs, and opportunities to speak. Like Vix is from Muses, and she is speaking as our headliner today. So, even if you're not yet officially Braintrust approved talent, you're on the wait list, we're still thinking of ways to provide value for the community. So don't think that, oh, okay, Braintrust is not yet for me, but we're actually providing programs and designing that as we speak. Okay, so there are lots of questions coming in for Adam. I'm going to save those for later so we can hop into Vix. Is there anything else to add before we do that, Adam?
No, I think that's a good segue. We're really excited to have Vix here. She's a pro. She's an expert in this, and I'm really excited. And we'll do questions at the end.
Wonderful. So next we have Vix Reitano. She is actually a journalist turned entrepreneur. She worked for major media companies, big media companies out of college. And then she decided to freelance in digital media, turned it into a full-time job and never looked back, right? That sounds familiar to some of us. She founded 6-borough agency and since had over 100 clients, including Time Inc., the United Nations, NBC Universal, the list goes on. And we're really excited to have her talk to us today about how do we stand out now that more and more people are freelancing and working remotely, and especially COVID has shined such a bright light on working remote. Vix, over to you.
Thanks so much, Adam and Shirley. Thank you both for having me and everyone on the call. I'm really excited to be here. As Shirley said, I built my business and never really looked back. I have been consulting small businesses for 15 years and I've been managing brands for 12. So while I may look young, I'm certainly not. I firmly believe that everyone can curate their own story based on their skill set and their abilities. But in order to do that, you have to really determine what your goals are. So when I first started side hustling, as we call it, or freelancing, my biggest objective was just to pay down some student debt and find some interesting projects to beef up my portfolio. So the first thing that it is required when you're deciding that you're going to jump into this work from home, remote side work pool is, what are you trying to provide at this time to the people that you're working with, but also for yourself? And what transaction makes the most sense for you? So is it something where you want a longer term engagement? Is it something where you want to try different projects to showcase different skill sets? One of my jobs was writing as a tech trade reporter. So I wrote all about I wrote all about everything, COBOL, I wrote about Agile and Scrum and all these things. So that was something I just wanted to learn more about it, but I have a varied skill set and I was able to use different transactions to highlight the different things that I do. So I think that that's really important. Once you define your objective, then you can get clear on who you're going to talk to. Shirley, if you would give me the next slide, that would be awesome. Thank you. So this is my term for how people find you. Highlight your digital front door. So your digital front door can be anything, right? It could be, for some of the Muses folks, perhaps it's an Instagram. For some of our other folks, perhaps it is a GitHub or a Behance profile. Or maybe for most of us, it's a LinkedIn. I have been using LinkedIn for a really long time, and I think that people often underestimate the power of this platform. I'm excited to give mine a little refresh and add Braintrust founding talent to it, which I think everyone who is on the approved list, who has a profile, should really consider. Your tagline is very important. So I tend to change my tagline quarterly, depending on what my objectives are. The reason that I do that, and the reason why I think we all need to do that, especially post-COVID-19, is because people are short on time, stressed. I mean, I think stressed is an understatement these days, but I think that it's also really important to remember that when someone is looking for someone to fulfill either a full-time remote role, a part-time remote role, or a true freelancer, jump in, help us with this project, and then let's move forward. And, maybe there's a relationship for the long haul, or maybe there's not, maybe it's just project-based. They really want to know that you can fulfill the skills that they need. So I often say that it's important to put the why, like what you do, the skill set that you have, as well as who you serve, if that is something that can work for you. And then anything that makes you more prominent than your competitor. So I always look for 5 people that I aspire to be when it comes to my career. And this is something that I've done my entire career. And when I look to them, I see what they use in their tagline, because as much as you can train your audience to understand the words of your industry, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we get through this, but as much as you can train them in this time, you want to make sure that you are giving them exactly what they need to get started. The other thing to do is to ask for recommendations and give recommendations. This is a perfect time. I know people always say, I don't have time to do that. You have a lot of time now. It's not a laughing matter, but I mean, think about it. You do, you've got some time. So take that time and think about intentionally who you want to work with again, or what types of people you want to work with again, so that you can ask their counterparts that you've already worked with for recommendations. Another thing, if you're trying to jump up in a level, let's say you want to do more managerial work, give recommendations to people who have worked with you, so that they then give you a recommendation, not only about your skill set as a practitioner, as someone who executes, but also as a manager. Because I think that if you have experience with remote management, it's going to be much more powerful as we start to navigate this work from home world. Another thing, I call it State of the Union or State of the Vix. My real name is Victoria Reitano. My parents are not that cool, but everyone always called me Victoria the Fix. So I shortened it and branded myself as Vix the Fix. And so I always call it State of the Vix. The State of the Union, which we're all getting used to seeing these conferences, is really just a state of the situation. So if you don't tell people that you are open for work, how can they know that you are open for work? Maybe you're only available to advise on projects, or maybe you're only available to work a certain number of hours per week. You can be really clear about that. And I think that the best part about Braintrust, because I did this on my profile, is that everything is right there. So if you decide that you want to include that in your email, or you decide that you want to include a screenshot in like a package that you're sending to someone, it's really clear for them to see your rate, your work, and to get your links, and then, kind of go from there. The other thing that I think is important when you think about who you're going to communicate with, separate your groups into people who can hire you, people who know people who can hire you, and people who can promote or collaborate with you. Why is that important? Well, for a few reasons. People who can hire you should get a higher level of engagement. They should get a one-on-one email. They should get a personalized conversation. People who know people can hire you, those are probably your same level, or maybe a little higher, a little lower when it comes to an organizational structure, because those people may know of opportunities that you don't know of by virtue of their connections. And then promotion and collaboration, those are people that maybe you can do something with. Maybe you can do a webinar with. Maybe you can get access to their audience and showcase your expertise in a new way during this period of downtime. I think that right now is probably the lowest hanging fruit. And one way to really do that is to just follow up with people on all platforms. You know, for example, you can go out and we'll share some links at the end, but use Braintrust a follow on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and see who's connecting on that platform and see if you can start a conversation with someone, you know, before there's an urgent need for work. I think that this State of the Union allows you to have a more authentic engagement. And that really, you know, things like we were saying in the chat earlier, like it's sunny in London just because we can't go out. We are in a global experience now, and we are all feeling the same thing. Harvard Business Review actually posted a really great article about that this morning. And there's a greater level of authentic connection because of this is such a dramatic experience that many of us have not, and let's hope not, will ever experience again. But you can take that opportunity to really just reach out to your contacts and say, I'm thinking of you. I hope you're okay, in a professional manner, right? I mean, a lot of people have lost their jobs, especially in the States. So I think that saying that is valid and is a great point of entry, and that keeping up that conversation in the next few months, you know, and weeks and months as we go forward is going to really help you in the long run to stand out, because when they are looking for someone or when they hear of someone, they'll automatically think of you. So when it comes to GitHub and Behance, I know that a lot of times, I mean, I do this with my own portfolios. I don't always update things as much as I want to, but I think that if we can take a little bit of time, even if it's 15 minutes a day during this down period, you can really showcase your best projects and present them in the best light. I love that Braintrust also does that you can showcase examples of your work. And I actually am working on a few smaller decks to do that for myself, and some little GIF videos, because GIF or GIF, please don't, whatever you want to say, you say. I always said GIF, so that's what I'm going with. But I am an equal opportunity word phrasing there, or pronunciation there. So Shirley is also always looking for people to feature. So you want to make sure that you give her a reason to feature you. That's how we connected. I had done a post about the best social media for your zodiac sign, and that was something that got picked up by Muses, and then we had a whole conversation about that. So you never really know the content that's going to appeal to someone, and you want to make sure that you're giving people the best opportunity to know you first. And that's really what this is. If your front door was on the internet and was the first thing people could see, are you proud of it? Do you feel it is a full picture of who you are? And if not, how can you, in this downtime, take a little bit of time each day to improve that? Shirley, can you go to the next slide for me?
If you don't mind.
Unless you want to jump into the profile.
Yeah, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to use this opportunity for designers in the room. We're actually looking for mid to senior level designers for 3 Fortune 500 companies right now. They haven't posted the jobs on Braintrust yet because they want to sort of look at the type of talents that we have. So if you have a profile that's not fully filled out, please do so. The sales team is actually going to be looking for people to showcase. Can you guys see my browser right now or no?
No, we still see the presentation.
Okay, so I'm gonna share this one. I'm just showing you.
Now we see it.
Okay, so this is like an example of a really good designer profile. Just so you know what we expect to see in order to be picked out and show our clients, or, you know, push forward for a recommendation. So, you know, definitely have a good professional profile photo, like the basics that you know how to fill out a profile. Connect your Behance, your Dribbble, your social media account, so then people can really see that you're a real person, you know what you're about. If you've done jobs on Braintrust, they will show up here. Put in your hourly rate. You can put in a range, so then clients will have an expectation of what you're looking for. And then really link your work samples, right? Because this is easy for people to, you know, at a glance, get to know your style. We're currently working on the product side to make this even more beautiful. So then once you come to your Braintrust profile, it's a public profile. Anyone can see it. You don't have to have a login to look at your profile. To really be engaged with the work samples that you have. So definitely fill that piece in. put in your background, and then skill level. So this is really important. I was talking to Vix about this, like put in what you're good at and then also your expertise level, right? Because when clients come in, they can actually search by skill and what level of expertise. So you really want to fill this out to the most of your ability, so then we can recommend talent, so that even if clients haven't posted a job yet, they're searching for people, they can see your profile and actually contact you. So that's just something I really, really want to urge you to do, especially since we have several opportunities for designers and developers, but I just got pinged about the designer opportunity this week, so I just want to make sure that I put that out there. Cool, so going back to your presentation now.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, that is on my list of things to get done this week myself. So when it comes to who is searching for you, I think that you have to really consider who the person would be that would be making the hiring decision for you, about you. So, you know, like Shirley said just a few minutes ago, it's really important to showcase the full range of your work, to showcase a range of pricing, and to also give people an opportunity to see some of the things that you've done on a wide variety of niches, and also at different skill levels for yourself with different projects in mind. The other thing too that I think is really important also for devs, not just for those of us who are marketing and design and you know, creative direction, I think it's important to showcase that you are following what's happening in your industry. So what I like to say is that we are content curators 95% of the time, and we are content creators 5% of the time, because a lot of times even we are creating content, but when we are curating content, we're curating ideas that have already existed in the world for a long time. And I think that if you pull in content, like if you read something that's interesting in an industry publication, or if you see something about a new app or share a webinar, all of these things are ways to showcase how plugged in you are into each of the industries that you want to be known as an expert in, or each of the areas that you want to be known as your zone of genius. And I think that if you take the time to really consider this, you will have the ability you know, to showcase that you are part of the community that you say you are part of, not just someone who does the work and then, you know, kind of disconnects. I don't think there's anything wrong with disconnecting. I just think that if we're talking about how to make yourself stand out, showcasing your ability to not only create, but also to explain why this is a trend is really important. One like concrete example of that is that they are like McDonald's and all these different logo companies, or all these different companies have changed their logo to represent the new trend in social distancing. Sometimes it falls flat. For some brands, it actually has value, but I think that you have to really consider your audience, who's searching for you, and how that could help your long and short range goals. The other thing to consider is that when it comes to lead generation and user experience, which I think most of the people on this call will understand in one sense or another, it is really about generating conversation when it comes to your LinkedIn and your Braintrust profile, and generating leads based on your ability, based on your work. So it is important to make sure that you showcase all of the examples that you think provide the best example of who you are and what you do. And Shirley, if you could give us the next slide, that would be awesome. Thank you. Words matter now more than ever. So because I am a writer first and foremost, words are my thing, but they truly do matter now more than ever, because it's really important to leverage the keywords of your industry when you're searching for people to connect with on LinkedIn. And then also when you're going through that skill set on Braintrust, really take time to consider the skills and the words that will make most sense to the people who are going to hire you, to the talent, and then to the Braintrust team when they want to highlight different talent for different opportunities that may not be available on the front end. The other thing is understanding the words that secure the best opportunity in your industry. So a lot of times I know, I do performance marketing. I also do a lot of social media marketing, video production, etc. So I will use different terminology based on who I'm pitching, based on who I'm having a conversation with, and based on my objective. And I think that that really has helped me. You know, I mean, I built a 6-figure business in 6 weeks, so I have been able to really turn around some good stats on that. And if you notice, as I share what I say, I am always considering the statistics. So that's why words are important, because you have to really think about who your audience is. And then it becomes part of everything that you do. It's not just what you share on your LinkedIn, it's how you speak, no matter where you are or who you're speaking to. You kind of got to live, sleep, and breathe this whole hustling freelance thing, I think, if we do it the way that we want to. And you guys are on this call, so I think you probably agree with that. The other thing too, community engagement, and Shirley can talk a little bit more about that as they start to open up the user base. But definitely, Shirley, you could give us the next slide. I would recommend, you know, even though we are socially distant, we can definitely be digitally engaged. This is the perfect time to connect on Slack and LinkedIn and other platforms, and Braintrust is active on all platforms, and their handles are listed there. It's fairly easy to get engaged, get connected, and have a conversation. Like I said, see who's following, see who's talking about it, and see if you can have kind of a new take on a global world in this time of COVID-19. I'm really excited to open up for questions. Just make sure, you know, like I said, give everybody a follow. I often always ask for everybody's LinkedIn or Twitter handle, because I think we can all have a good conversation, and I love to see what people are doing on those platforms as well. So if you want to share your handle, I'd love to personally give you a follow, and I'm sure the Braintrust team would love to see some handles as well. Here we are. I can't hear you.
Thank you.
Here you are.
I stopped sharing my screen. I just want to reiterate, you know, we are building Braintrust community. We're merging with Muses community. It's a new initiative. This is why I joined the team. I am open to so many ideas right now, you know, and part of the Braintrust network is you get tokens as, you know, an owner, right? So you receive tokens if, you know, we are building these programs, and we would be happy to utilize your experience and your contribution in exchange for tokens for utility on the platform going forward. And, you know, we'll host another session just strictly on the Braintrust token, what that means, what you can do with it. But just want to let you know, we are starting this, building this community, merging it. So it's really exciting times. Please contact me if you're interested in doing this with me. I would love your help. Okay, so we're gonna dive into Q&A. We got lots of questions. I'm going to ask actually questions for Vix first, and then we'll go back to Adam so he can wrap more on the Braintrust side.
Sounds good.
Great. So one thing is, you talked about separating your audiences into who may hire you, people who know people who may hire you, and then a third one. So for people who know people who may hire you, how do you engage with them? Like, how do you reach out to them to sound more authentic? Because it sounds like a lot of things that you're talking about is not just tactical, but more relationship-based building.
Oh, 100%. I think that everything we do, no matter what our skill set is relationship-based, especially as we navigate what the world looks like after this. Look, we went into our homes one way, we're going to come out and the world is going to be different. And I think that we were already on the brink of that, because much like what Adam said earlier, I don't think that it's fair. I mean, I started my company to equalize this platform for work and work from home and helping young, creative, smart people, or creative people of all ages. It's not an age thing. It's a creativity thing. Creative humans are people who thrive on connection, but are also people who can be, in my personal opinion, kind of leveraged for their good nature. So I want, my mission in life is to really make that better. And I think that if you create this authentic relationship with someone, you are more likely to build your business. I mean, my business has been word of mouth for 4.5 years, all because I actually am friends with the people I work with in a professional manner. I'm not saying like be inappropriate. I'm saying that you really do want to follow up. Like, I think that the more we work from home, look, we're all working from home. People's kids are jumping in, people's dogs are jumping in. Like, now we're seeing people in a environment that we would have never seen them in unless we followed them on Instagram. I mean, let's be honest. So now that we have this connection, like, let's use it. Let's foster it. Let's really be the humans that we say we are.
Thank you. So someone is asking, okay, majority of my work falls under NDA that prevents me from showing work publicly. How would you suggest I update my profile and be able to, speak to what I've done?
Yeah, I've done a few things under NDA. It's really hard. So sometimes what I'll do in the contract before I begin work is ask that we agree to certain pieces that can be used and reshared, because building your portfolio is really important. The other thing that I'll do is, this is hard. It depends what the work is, but I'll make it as bland as possible, or I will recreate the project with dummy logos. So if it's something you already have the mock-ups, if it's a design thing, you already have the mock-ups. So create the project for yourself with your brand, or just create it with a separate logo. I've done that a lot where I run campaigns, and I won't be able to say who the campaigns are, but I will definitely be able to showcase the structure. So as much as you can do it, I would try to do it that way. The other thing too is feed your creativity. You're a creative person because you are a creative person, not because you get paid to be creative. So sometimes I'll do, dummy text. Dummy text is perfect. Even I'll kind of, scrub it out if necessary. It's more the logo stuff that I think is the challenging part, especially if you're showcasing a website or something similar. But yeah, that's usually how I handle that.
Thank you. So Scott Young actually said in chat, he's actually showed his design with dummy text before, and most clients are for it. So thanks for that. So you spoke about a really important tagline for LinkedIn, and we talked about if you're an approved Braintrust talent, to put Braintrust founding talent, because you are part of the network, you get tokens. And can you give us just a very anecdotal structure for what's a good tagline?
Okay. So this is my rule of thumb, right? The thing that makes you the most money goes first, and then you go down in price from there. When it comes to someone who is multi-passionate and multi-creative, or the thing that is most talked about, is what I often say goes first. I know that for people who are authors and speakers, speaker obviously is the higher ticket item there, so they'll put author separately. But my general recommendation is I would put the most technical of your skills first, and then I would go down in order, considering what you want to work on, because you may have a technical skill set that you no longer choose to entertain. So don't put that, put it in your bio, don't put it in your tagline. But I would also make sure that you are structuring it in the way that it delivers the most resources to you. And resources is not always money. Sometimes it's time, brain space, and quality of life.
Wonderful. Okay, so I think that's the meat of the questions for you, Vix. I'm going to turn it back to Adam. There's a ton that's coming in. I think we definitely need a dedicated session for just Braintrust and going into the tokens, how we work, and more structure. We do an AMA for approved talents, but based on the response today, we'll do a separate one for the overall talent base. So we have someone asking Google. Okay, so when you search for in Google, will your profiles on Braintrust be indexed, essentially?
Yeah, great question. We are allowing public profiles, approved profiles, to be indexed right now. So now we're still pretty early on in that process. So it may not be the first result that shows up, but yeah, we will eventually. SEO, search engine optimization, is all about sort of the quality of the content and how long it's been there. And so we're only a few months in here. So, but yeah, over time, your Braintrust profiles will show up on Google searches.
Okay, great. And so can you talk to how international we are? So someone asked, do we cater to international? And we are very international, but in terms of just breakdown and your philosophy for that.
Yeah, so there's sort of two ways to answer this question. I'm not sure if you mean on the talent side or the client side, so I'll just address both. So on the talent side, we are very international. We actually have something like 350 or maybe almost 400 on the approved talent side. Last time we checked, they were spanning 16 countries. And so the founding team, Gabe and I, live here in the San Francisco Bay Area, but our core team is spread all over the country and the world. Actually, our whole engineering team is in Europe. We actually have 0 full-time product or technology or design people that work at Braintrust. Every single piece of Braintrust that you see, from the platform to the logo design to the graph, all that stuff has been done by freelancers on Braintrust. So that is really eating our own dog food there. On the client side, there are a couple clients we have from Europe. There's a big insurance company in Europe, but the vast majority are US kind of Fortune 1000 companies.
Great, thank you. And someone's asking, are you only working with big company names, or are you open to small businesses that want to work with great freelancers?
Yeah, great question. So we're generally we're in private beta right now, so we're being selective. We're really putting time and resources against going after Fortune 1000 companies. Those are we're working with 2 big banks right now. That I'll be able to say their names once we get them signed. Excuse me. And so those enterprise clients are hard to get. They're long sales cycles. They're very sophisticated. And so we know how to sell those, right? That we have we spend money on dedicated salespeople to go get those folks. And so that's where we spend our time and resources. We're open to smaller businesses using the platform. That's just not where we're spending our time and resources, because you can get a big company like PwC or Deloitte or Blue Cross Blue Shield. Once you get rolling with them and they have a good experience, you can expand that account for years, right? So if they start with maybe 5 freelancers, then they go to 10, then 20, and before you know it, one client is serving hundreds of people on the talent side. That is just so valuable, but they're very hard to get. And so that's where we spend our time and resources for now.
Right. I think also, just to piggyback on top of that, we're bringing clients with budgets, right? So I know that's one of the main pain points with a lot of freelance friends that I have, is people either don't pay on time, they don't have the budget, or they just ghost on you. Now, that's not going to happen with these enterprise accounts that we have. And also, it's a great thing to put on your resume, having worked with some of these large brands.
And let me tack onto that. That's a great point, Shirley. These enterprise clients pay their bills. We really push for net 30. We think that's fair. Not all of them are going to be net 30. Some of them, are net 45. I don't think we have any net 60s, but they pay their bills. They're very professional organizations. And the other thing is, we have insurance that will cover if, for some reason they don't pay. We'll guarantee it. We'll make sure you get paid. It's not paying freelancers is completely unacceptable. It won't be tolerated here.
Right. And someone's asking, any competitors of Braintrust with similar business model? They're not talking about Upwork.
Yeah, so if you think about competitors to Braintrust, Top Talent Gigster are probably the closest. And again, the key difference there is, those are organizations owned by 1 or 2 founders and maybe 1 or 2 investors. So all the control comes from the top, and it's not a user-controlled community like Braintrust. That's one difference. The second one is a big one. They're taking usually at least 50%, if not more, rake off of everybody's rates. And so we don't, we charge a 0% fee to our talent and a flat 10% to our clients. So that's the big difference there. But I would say the main difference, if you're a big client thinking about working with Braintrust, it's usually not a bake-off between us and some other marketplace. It's usually us and some agency that is just going to overcharge them, right? We have a big client in the apparel category that is excited to get started and start posting jobs to Braintrust because they're just tired of being ripped off by these giant agencies, and so Braintrust is a much better option for them.
Great, thank you. We have a lot more questions, but our time is up. So thank you so much for your time today, everyone. And, you know, we're going to be hosting more of these. Obviously, there's interest and people want to learn about Braintrust and different topics. I think I'm going to continue with polling about next topics. What are you interested in? I think going forward, it would make sense for us to dive into different professions. So, you know, webinars specifically for designers, one for developers, etc., and also more general ones like today's. And if you want to connect with Vix, with Adam and I, you know, our information is on the invite page. So please feel free to reach out, email us, follow our social media, please. That's one of our initiatives, my initiatives, help me out. Let's grow our accounts so then we can connect there. I am always looking for speakers and website blog contributors. So please reach out to me. I'm Shirley at usebraintrust.com, and I will see you very soon. Thank you.